Welcome to the Casecracker Stories. I'm Jason. On September 7th, 2012, a Canadian girl uploaded a self-made video to the platform YouTube. She remained on camera the entire time without speaking a single word. Using only a series of handwritten flashcards, she recounted a disturbing series of events from her past few years. Though the girl maintained a polite smile throughout the recording, as the contents of the cards were revealed page by page, her eyes began to fill with tears of agony. At the time, those who first viewed the video failed to realize that this was a deeply traumatized girl, sending her final cry for help to the world. This video was about to expose the internet's most depraved individuals to the light of day, and in doing so, change the world forever. This is the heartbreaking case of Amanda Todd. Amanda was born in 1996 in Vancouver, Canada. A vibrant and spirited girl, she suffered from congenital reading and learning disabilities. This kept her grades at the bottom of her class, which naturally failed to earn her any favor from her teachers. Fortunately, she had the unwavering support of her parents and the encouragement of a few close friends. This allowed Amanda's childhood to pass with a sense of safety and happiness. Regrettably, when she was 12 years old, her parents' marriage ended in divorce. Amanda moved with her mother to a new city and enrolled in a new school. The upheaval at home, combined with the new academic environment, caused Amanda, who already struggled with school life, to experience true isolation for the first time. However, she soon discovered a new sanctuary: the internet. It was 2008. Social media platforms were exploding in popularity, attracting massive numbers of young people who were drawn to the novelty of the digital world. Amanda launched her own channel to showcase her talent for singing. The positive feedback in the comments gave her a first taste of self-worth. Soon, Amanda was no longer satisfied with just interacting in the comment section. Following the recommendation of some friends, she joined a platform called Blog TV. She opened her own video chat room. Just as she had hoped, users quickly began joining her live stream. He began interacting with her enthusiastically. The atmosphere was one of total acceptance and understanding. It was a feeling she had never experienced in her daily life. Consequently, she quickly immersed herself in this world, unable to pull away. She had no idea that a criminal web was closing in. It was slowly tightening around her. It was an era of rapid technological advancement. Regulation and oversight could not keep pace. Platforms like Blog TV emerged during this time. They operated under the banners of free speech, privacy rights, and anti-censorship. They instantly gained a massive following among the youth. But simultaneously, these platforms became the ideal hunting grounds for pedophiles. Their methods were simple, yet highly effective. They used specific manipulation tactics to induce naive teenagers into performing explicit acts on camera. They would then use video screenshots to threaten the victims. The goal was long-term control and extortion. These individuals have a specific title. They are called cappers. The term means screenshot extortionist. These predators utilize the latest internet technology to carry out the most depraved activities. Regarding this title, they felt no shame. They wore it as a badge of honor. On the Blog TV platform, they even established an insular online TV program, Daily Capper. Within the program, distorted and grotesque virtual avatars adopted a news broadcast format to compile and publish their achievements and techniques. They mockingly announced awards like Best Screenshot of the Day, Member of the Year, Most Effective Member of the Year, and Fastest Growing Newcomer. It was a literal carnival of crime. The individual appearing in Amanda's chat room was exactly this type of dangerous capper. He initially posed as a harmless acquaintance. He started with mundane topics about daily life to gradually close the distance between him and the girl. After months of this pursuit, Amanda had come to view him as her online confidant. Finally, the day arrived. Under a barrage of psychological manipulation and calculated persuasion, Amanda exposed her private information. The perpetrator immediately took a screenshot. Then, he showed his teeth. The following day, the man used that indecent screenshot as leverage. He demanded that Amanda perform more explicit acts. The girl struggled in school due to dyslexia, but she wasn't stupid. She knew that if she complied with his demands, she would only fall into an irrecoverable abyss. Even when the man on the other end of the line threatened to go public with the photo if she didn't obey, Amanda immediately blocked and deleted him. She permanently deactivated the chat account. For a while afterward, everything seemed quiet. It appeared the perpetrator had backed down, having ceased the harassment. Gradually, Amanda began to put the incident behind her. She had no idea that a year later, the gates of hell would swing open. Her photo was sent to a massive number of her classmates through social media accounts. From there, it spread rapidly among the student body. What followed was the systematic humiliation of Amanda, accompanied by relentless school bullying. Faced with this situation, the school's reaction was chilling. They could have used the incident to educate students on self-protection and the prevention of bullying. But in reality, their approach was different. They prioritized maintaining order above all else. As the victim, Amanda was instead issued a suspension on the grounds of distributing inappropriate content. This effectively encouraged the bullying targeted at her. Fortunately, the girl's mother, Todd, was a loving and level-headed person. She didn't blame her daughter for a single lapse in judgment. Instead, she was keenly aware of the criminal intent hidden behind the act. She contacted the police immediately. Unfortunately, in that era, the police's handling of crimes committed in cyberspace, effective tools and countermeasures were non-existent. They could only offer superficial advice. They told her to keep Amanda away from the internet. It was an unrealistic demand. For a 12-year-old girl with normal social needs, cutting her off from the web meant cutting her out of her entire social circle. Out of options, Carol resorted to the only measure within her power to protect her daughter. She transferred her to a different school. At first, the move seemed to work. The blackmailer appeared to have lost Amanda's trail. The relentless harassment stopped. The girl finally returned to a normal school life. She began to smile again. But the peace only lasted 6 months. Then, the man reappeared. After Amanda blocked him for the second time and refused his lewd demands, the perpetrator showed his true depravity. He immediately blasted the girl's photos to every student in the school, and even into the teachers' inboxes. The same script played out once again. Driven by the surge of ridicule and bullying, Amanda was forced to transfer schools a second time. The facts showed that the capper was a deeply calculating and highly resourceful predator. He created a massive network of social media accounts. Posing as a student, he lurked within Amanda's social circles. Even after Amanda transferred and changed her personal accounts, he monitored her circle. He followed diary entries, photos, and other digital breadcrumbs left by her peers. He used these to track down her new school. Then, assuming the identity of a student once more, he infiltrated the new school's social network. Once he secured the email addresses of the majority of the students, he would distribute the photos en masse. His objective was to maximize the psychological damage to the girl. It was an act of extreme malice. Predictably, the second transfer failed to shake the stalker. After spending months locating the new school and successfully infiltrating her social circle, he messaged Amanda from a new Facebook account. He told her he was a psychopath. He made it clear that unless Amanda met his demands, the harassment and the exposure would never end. But this time, Amanda stopped the pattern of blocking and avoiding. She stood her ground and pushed back. Her message was clear. Keep dreaming. If you really want to see me that badly, show your face and come find me. Or are you only brave behind a keyboard? The defiance, however, failed to prevent the worst-case scenario. As the photos were circulated once again, the familiar waves of public mockery and bullying followed. Her mother had no choice but to transfer her to another school. In the 3 years following the initial incident, Amanda changed schools 5 times. Every time, the same cycle repeated itself. The harassment grew increasingly severe. On one occasion, while walking home, she was ambushed by over a dozen girls. The assault left her with a concussion. When her father reached the scene, he found her lying in a roadside ditch, weeping in silence. Years of continuous psychological torture had completely eroded Amanda's mental state. The light in her eyes faded day by day. Early 2012, she attempted to take her own life. Her family found her in time. Emergency medical intervention saved her. Despite this, the cyberbullying showed no signs of slowing down. Some users posted cold-blooded comments, stating that she shouldn't have been saved at all. Amanda later transferred to a school for students with special needs, with professional help and family support. Her condition showed temporary signs of improvement. On September 7, 2012, she uploaded the video titled, "My Story." On the final flashcard shown to the camera, Amanda stated that she had survived her darkest days. Her next goal was to get the word "brave" tattooed on her inner forearm to serve as a reminder for the future. The video ended there. Unfortunately, in an era where everyone was racing to launch their own channels, competing for views by any means necessary, a video like hers was a drop of water in the ocean. It failed to gain any traction. Of the few people who actually saw it, they essentially dismissed it as nothing more than a young girl venting her emotions. At the time, no one realized the truth. This was a girl who had been pushed into a psychological corner. This was her final cry for help to the world. Just 1 month later, on October 10, 2012, on World Mental Health Day, Amanda Todd left this world forever. Following the tragedy and the subsequent media coverage, the video began to spread across the internet like a virus. It was viewed over 17 million times in just 2 weeks. Factoring in the various reposts and the reaction videos created by influencers, its global viewership is estimated to have exceeded hundreds of millions. Nearly everyone was asking the same 2 questions. Who was the relentless predator? Who was the monster that drove Amanda to her death? And what had the Canadian police been doing all these years? Let's address the second question first. As previously mentioned, starting from the first photo incident, Amanda's mother, Carol, had reported it to the police. Although the responding officers didn't view the matter as serious at the time, merely suggesting the girl stay off the internet. But after the second incident, and the third time her photos were leaked, resulting in severe bullying and forcing her to change schools, the police finally went on high alert once local law enforcement realized the situation had escalated beyond their jurisdiction. They referred the case to the Canadian Police Headquarters, to a newly established unit specializing in youth cyber safety. Beyond that, the girl's mother, Carol, spent those years quietly conducting much of the investigation the police should have handled. She did everything in her power to protect her daughter amidst a landslide of ridicule and bullying, while keeping detailed records of every attack and every instance of extortion her daughter suffered. Despite lacking advanced technical support, this mother, relying solely on handwritten charts and summaries, discovered a critical lead: the 20-plus Facebook accounts that were being used to attack Amanda shared highly similar patterns of speech. Even the grammatical errors were identical. They likely originated from the same person. She provided this discovery to the police. It was later proven this was the best opportunity the police had to apprehend that monster before the tragedy occurred. But it fits the saying that the world is run by an incompetent crew. When the so-called cyber expert unit realized that the individual persecuting Amanda might be in another country, to proceed with the investigation, they would need the cooperation of American companies like Facebook and YouTube. They essentially gave up, because in that era, many tech companies treated protecting user privacy as a core selling point. For instance, Apple once refused to assist the police in unlocking a drug trafficking suspect's phone. Given this background, before the matter gained widespread attention, social platforms like Facebook were unlikely to proactively or swiftly cooperate with Canadian police to provide user data. So, upon realizing these difficulties, the police effectively allowed the tragedy to unfold. No one expected Amanda's plight to draw global attention overnight. The notorious hacker group, Anonymous, soon announced that they had identified the cam blackmailer hiding behind the scenes, and quickly leaked the man's information online. His name was Cody Maxon, an American with a lengthy record of abuse and sex crimes. To date, there is no definitive data showing on what grounds the anonymous hacker group determined he was the actual perpetrator. However, many speculate it may be related to the online TV shows used by these cam blackmailers to broadcast their achievements. As mentioned before, these individuals would use this program to share their criminal methods and boast about the results of deceiving and controlling their victims. Amanda's photos and videos had previously appeared on this show. Beyond that, this program would issue various awards to the most egregious blackmailers. And the individual named Master Manipulator of the Year in 2012 used the online ID Cody 1206. The hacker group likely used this as a lead to find the real-life individual, the Cody with the long list of sex crime records. While the public was busy praising the hacker group for delivering justice, the Canadian police finally showed some resolve. They held a press conference. They stated with absolute certainty that based on the evidence in their possession, Cody was not the perpetrator they were looking for. It turned out that following Amanda's death and the global viral spread of her final video, massive public outrage had been ignited. Under immense pressure, the Canadian police began taking the leads Carol, the victim's mother, had previously submitted seriously. They began investigating the connections and ownership of those dozens of Facebook accounts. Facebook also realized they could no longer ignore the public's fury. They stopped using user privacy protection as an excuse to stall. In just 1 week, they sorted through the IDs compiled by Carol, including over 90 user profiles. All of them pointed to a single IP address located in the Netherlands. The number of victims harassed by these accounts, some of whom had already been assaulted and extorted, reached as many as 75 people. Typically, cases where victims are scattered globally and the suspect is located abroad are exceptionally difficult and complex to handle. The process usually drags on for a long time, but clearly driven by the Amanda case. No police force in any country wanted to be seen as an obstacle to the investigation. In a rare move, European police took the initiative to propose a collaboration with the Canadian police. They followed the digital trail. They quickly located a specific residence, an ordinary-looking house on the outside. They then executed a high-risk operation, infiltrating the premises. On the owner's computer, they installed spyware. It would record every keystroke and take a screenshot every 30 seconds, transmitting the data directly to the police. Years ago, while Amanda was still alive, her mother had suggested that the police take over her daughter's account to chat with the extortioner, to track him down. But she was rejected. This time, the police didn't need her reminder. They began using undercover accounts to run a sting operation when the suspect finally took the bait, sending extortion messages to a fictitious girl. The SWAT team, which had been standing by, immediately breached the door. They moved in and made the arrest. The true face of this vicious perpetrator was finally exposed to the world. His name is Aydin Koban. He was born in Turkey and later immigrated to the Netherlands. Police searched his residence and seized a massive amount of hacking equipment. They also recovered the silver mask he had used in the chat rooms to conceal his identity. On his hard drives, investigators found thousands of video files stored. Every file was categorized by the victim's name and the date. Among them was the footage used to blackmail Amanda. Computer forensics revealed that out of all the recordings, this specific video had been played the most. Despite the mountain of evidence, the police were still on edge. Technically speaking, installing surveillance software on Coban's computer and using an undercover sting operation to lure him were both controversial tactics under Dutch law. It created a high risk that the evidence could be ruled inadmissible in court. Coban was well aware of this. Following his arrest, he maintained a strict refusal to confess. His defense attorney claimed that his client was a kind, decent, and upright man. They stated that if he were convicted, they would immediately file an appeal. Fortunately, at the trial, more than 39 victims and family members from around the world who had been stalked, harassed, and extorted by Coban arrived at the courthouse. They took the stand as witnesses to recount their experiences. In 2017, the Dutch court found Coban guilty of 72 charges, including crimes against minors, the production, possession, and distribution of illegal content. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Following the verdict, Canadian authorities requested Coban's extradition to Canada to stand trial for the extortion and death of Amanda. The Dutch government agreed to the request, but with conditions. Since Coban is a Dutch citizen, Canada had to agree that once the trial concluded, Coban would be returned to the Netherlands to serve his sentence. Once all terms were negotiated, by the time Aydin was extradited to Canada, it was already 2020. This second trial actually held very little suspense, because in Carol's hands, she had already organized and preserved all evidence of her daughter's long-term persecution. Finally, in October 2022, exactly 10 years after Amanda's death, this case reached a periodic conclusion. The Canadian court ruled he was found guilty on all counts, including extortion and luring a minor. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison. If added to his previous sentence of approximately 10 years in the Netherlands, the total sentence appeared to be close to 23 years. But it was not that simple. Due to legal arrangements between the Netherlands and Canada, Aydin was subsequently sent back to the Netherlands to serve his time. Within the Dutch legal system, the maximum sentence for these specific crimes is only 6 years. In other words, after the sentence conversion was completed, this subsequent portion of his prison term was significantly reduced. Based on current estimates, Aydin is likely to be released around 2030. What is more disheartening is that aside from the convicted Aydin, police failed to apprehend any other members of the so-called Capper group. That malicious online program also went off the air, but almost everyone knows they didn't just vanish, they simply moved into darker corners. They remain active on the dark web and various hidden platforms, continuing to search for new targets. The tactics they once used are being constantly imitated and replicated. The South Korean Northroom case, exposed in 2020, was a continuation on a much larger scale with even more extreme and heinous methods. It is my hope that after exploring these true crime stories with me, you can maintain an extra degree of vigilance when facing this online environment that seems free but hides such risks. That concludes today's program. Thank you all once again for your support and encouragement. I will see you in the next video.